This customer had finally had enough of playing the rolling the dice gambling game. Let's try this part. Well, that didn't fix it. Let's try that part. Well, that didn't fix it. And some odd $1,000 later, it's still not fixed. But it will be here. Let's get started. This is a 2013 Cadillac ATS with the 3.6 V6. The ones I tell you guys not to buy. Luckily this one actually runs okay, but the customer's been battling for quite a while. Whenever they were at a stoplight, it would start overheating. Or they get on the highway and it would start to cool off and it would be just fine. And it's here because this customer had it at a previous shop. And they were just throwing parts at it. I know of two that they told me about that they threw at this thing. We're going to show you here in a minute. But every time they took it back, I said, let's try this, let's try that. And it was the same problem over and over. I think the last time that it fixed, it was good for a little while, and then it started acting up again. And when you find out why, when we show you why, you're going to think, oh my goodness, really? Let's take a look around this thing before we dive in. So here's the front of this ATS. You can see it's been repainted. It has some peeling going on, and really, I mean, maybe it's unsightly or whatever, but that's not why it's here. But otherwise, I do like the front end of these. I love the headlights. I love the styling. It's kind of aggressive looking. Down the side, the paint looks decent. It does have nice black 18-inch wheels on it that look real nice with the Cadillac emblems. The back is unmistakably Cadillac with these vertical taillight. It's kind of like vertical red slits, just like this. My 63 Cadillac in the background. That's when it started to really go that way with the vertical bars for taillights. And they got progressively bigger as the years went on. And even to this day in 2013, they're still harkening back to those old days. As we come around, you can see there's a little crack in the rear bumper. There's a few little blemishes here and there, but otherwise it's in pretty decent shape. Let's let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around the interior.
Okay, ladies and gents, it has 154,692 miles. And I would show you more of the gauge cluster, but it's all digital and it's a sea of black. But when it does turn on, it is rather interesting to look at. It's a very cool design. But as we go up, this is in really good condition. It has nice leather dash. And it smells like a leather store in here. It smells very nice. I love the design accents that we see next to our vent. We also see those on our door card as well. As we look at our center section, the infotainment system turns on when you activate the center section. I'll show you how to do that in just one moment. You'll see that there's lots of icons that control our HVAC system below, and lots of icons again in our infotainment system. But if I very just touch, right there, it's just a sensor. It automatically raises, and we can see that there's a spot down there for our USB plug-in. There's a USB plug in there. Also, he's got a receipt for, maybe there's a Powerball. He won the Powerball. I don't know. And then I just gently touch again, and it goes down. So, looking great, although you can already see fingerprints. Problem with piano black is it's hard to keep clean. As we move down, he's got a little hidey hole here that he has open with his lucky quarter in it. Got our gear selector, which again, we don't see what they say, but when the car is on, you will actually see which, the designation for each of the gears. Oh, he has a control module sitting in his cup holder. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm going to give you a hint. It has nothing to do with the problem with today's video. So not sure why he has that in there, but nonetheless, that's his choice. As we move to the center section, you'll see that we have a leather covered armrest. And if we open it up, looks like we've got some lotion and other few items in as well. If we move to our seats, they are perforated leather in the center. Not a lot of bolster on the side, but they are in really nice shape. Nice, soft, supple leather. And again, it smells like a leather store in here. Door card is black, black, and black with a little bit of that silver accent as well. That kind of brushed aluminum look. Back seat, well, a lot more black leather as well. And it's in good condition. I don't see any rips, tears, or nothing like that. Headliner's in fabulous shape as well. As we're back to our steering wheel, you'll see we have our crest here in the center, and that is classic to Cadillac and has been ever since, oh gosh, forever. You see that exact crest on the Wizard's 63 over there as well. But there are a slew of buttons on the steering wheel. Let's check. No, nothing on the back, but he does have flappy paddles on the back side. So, a lot going on here, but there's also a lot going on underneath and in the engine bay. Let's see what's going on with this thing. Let's get this up in the air.
So Danielson's been working on this. He does have the lower shield off because there was coolant all over the place in here. And when we get into the engine bay, we'll show you the first thing we found of something's going on that has nothing to do with the parts that were replaced. Here's our steering rack, and as you can see, electronic. There's no power steering pump on this. Most modern cars are going to full electric power steering. So if this goes bad, you don't have to worry about fluids and things spilling everywhere, but you do have to worry about being expensive because of that. Everything looks good there. You can see a lot of staining and stuff around in here where coolant has been leaking. All this area was wet. You can see still some orange strips back here of antifreeze. So that's our first hint of what's going on. Let's take a look at the brakes. They're about half gone. Struts are dry. Sway bar links are intact and good. Nothing loose. Everything looks good here as well. Everything's nice and tight. As we move back towards the transmission, I'm smelling antifreeze pretty strong. But the transmission itself is nice and dry. Here's our exhaust going back. Everything's looking good there. Our flex disc is looking pretty good. And thinking of flex disc, there's one common thing going on here. Looks a lot like a Mercedes-Benz under here, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Cadillac is no longer like the 63 I have back there. Big, comfortable, floaty cars. You know, older people bought them because they got tired of jostling around the sports cars. And Cadillac has pretty much gone the way of sports cars. Now everything is, like Hoovie has mentioned on Hoovie's Garage, everything's got thin, cardboard thin sports seats and sports suspension and stiff riding and tight handling. And that's just kind of, they got to move towards who's buying their cars. So yeah, everything under here looks very German. So here our exhaust goes back down the middle. It's 2 into 1 right here in this little chamber. And it goes back into 2 again. And here we are at the rear axle. There is a little bit of seepage, but it's nothing worth a big tear down. Let's check our boots. Everything's good there. Everything's good there. Brakes are like 80 or 90%. Again, more German style suspension here. Everything looks good. Brakes are good. Both boots are good. Ride height sensor. Everything's happy. And it does go to a giant muffler back here that does have 2 tips at the end. So it does kind of mostly have dual exhaust. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So let's play the game. You guys like to play the guessing game. In the comments, let us know what you think it is. We saw coolant on the bottom, so is it A, blown head gaskets? Is it B, a cracked block? Or C, just a basic coolant leak? I'll let you guys choose in the comments what you think it is. Now let's dive in and find out what it really is. So some things have been removed already. Danielson's been working on it. But one thing, when we first brought it in, it was currently overheating when it would get sitting still like at a stoplight or something. Danielson noticed right away this. Our upper and lower coolant reservoir was completely bone dry. Nothing in it. So he was like, okay, it currently is overheating. It must be just low on coolant. So we refilled it with coolant. It's currently been drained because he's working on it, but we refilled it with proper coolant, started it up, let it run. It quit overheating. The fans work, everything works like it's supposed to. He was happy. So he pressure tested it. And he did find a leak. But before we dive into what that is, let's show you what the last shop did with rolling of the dice. So you can see it has a brand new radiator. It's been replaced. And on top of that, we can see also a brand new entire fan assembly. And if you watched Mrs. Wizard's interior tour like you should have and not skipped it, you would have seen there's a module sitting in the cup holder that kind of was like, where did that come from? And I'll show you where it came from, right here. That module for the fan control is actually been replaced as well. There's 3 items that have been replaced here. Now, like Mrs. Wizard said, that module and also those other parts have nothing to do with why this thing was overheating. I've been in this scenario before. And if you have a car that's acting up, you really need to ask someone who is experienced professional. Don't ask your neighbor who works on cars in the backyard, or a guy who, yeah, I worked on 3 or 4 cars about 10 years ago. I know a little bit about cars. I can tell you what happened here. Complaint. It only overheats at stoplights. Oh yeah, man, you need a new radiator. You need one. So we put one in. It still does it after a little while. It starts acting up again. Oh yeah, I know what it is. It's that fan, man. Yeah, got to get you a fan. Put a new fan in it. We put a new fan in it. Still acting up. Yeah, there's one more thing I forgot about. Yeah, we got to do that module there. Put a new module on. Still acting up. And it was none of those things. So whoever recommended this had zero clue what the hell they were doing. Because Danielson, when he put the coolant in it, he pressure tested it, and it was pouring coolant. And I'll show you where. Let me remove the intake, which has already been unbolted. It's just an O-ring right here. This is just a little neck, it's a little coolant flange neck. And when he pressure tested it, it would just spray and fill all down in the valley. That's why we saw coolant in the back of the motor. It's filling up the valley below and spilling out the back. It's just this O-ring was bad right here. There's also a seal here that was leaking. Right there. And here's the old O-ring. Look at that, guys. You can see all the little cracks in it. It wasn't sealing anything. This is such a common problem. When I went to order the seal for these, they just sell the whole flange. And it's not even very expensive at all. You just unbolt the old neck off. This thing right here. Toss it. Bolt on the new one. It has all the new seals. Everything ready to go. And problem solved. So if you played the game a little bit ago, I mentioned A, if it was a blown head gasket, B, if it's a cracked block, or C, just a general coolant leak. C was correct. It was just a general coolant leak. So that's all it was, guys. A simple coolant leak with an O-ring and a little, actually 2 little O-ring style seals. When this thing would slowly lose coolant, it would get low enough. There's the temperature sensors that are up top up here. They start measuring dead air. There's no coolant there. So it measures really hot. The engine may not have actually been getting that hot. It was just low enough that there's no longer coolant flowing. And it makes sense that you give it RPM, you get it going on the highway, and it pushes the coolant through a little faster and starts circulating and feels like it's cooling down. But Danielson proved when it's full of antifreeze, it will not overheat. It can run here for days and be happy. When it first came in, that wasn't the case because it literally was almost out of coolant. If it was a head gasket, there could be oil in the coolant. It would also give symptoms like pressurizing the cooling system really fast, even when it's cold. You can also do a combustion gas test to see if there's combustion gases in the coolant. If it was a cracked block, we'd have found a coolant leak, but it would have been somewhere along the block. But Danielson found it at that little coolant neck, the little flange there. And when he would pressure test it, it was like just running coolant out. Really pretty bad. A simple pressure test with a $150 or even a $100 pressure tester would have found the problem in 5 minutes or less and saved this customer probably over $1,000 with radiator, control module, fans. Those things aren't cheap. They're $200 and $300 and $400 a piece. And labor. You guys really need to find you a reputable shop in your area. You can start out, many people ask me, how do I know if they're reputable or not? Start with something small, like brake pads or a water pump, or something that's not drastic tear down or major cost. Even oil changes would be good. Start working your way up. A little bit larger bills, larger jobs. And if you consistently get good results, stop price shopping. You found a reputable mechanic, stick with them. Because this is the other end of the spectrum, what you can expect if you start price shopping. It's the same situation with my buddy Tim's Ferrari here. They don't just drop it off at who, I'm going to price check it. This guy's $39 cheaper, screw the other people. No, they go where it's reputable and price is fair. Didn't say cheap, but fair. He gets good work, the price is fair, and he keeps coming back because it's not worth the headache trying to go somewhere else to save 50 bucks. It's just not worth it. And believe it or not, even with all the YouTube stuff going on, I have customers come in who start testing me. They start with something small and work their way up, and I'm totally cool with that. because I have no trouble and in no worry in my mind whether or not I'm going to earn this person's trust. I know that we will. So the part should be arriving here today. We'll get that new coolant neck on, bleed the system, put fresh antifreeze in it, and that's it. It's fixed. And we informed the customer what we found here, and he just did the face palm thing. He was like, that was it. Like, yeah, that's all it was. Oh my God, he said. Oh my God. So anyways, listen to the advice I give, guys. I've been around the block a few times.
More than a few times, I think.
More than a few times.
You're getting kind of old over there.
Yeah, I am. I've got arthritis. Maybe I've been around the block 1,000 times.
Maybe.
I don't know. No muffler Newton. Listen, guys. Here we go. If you're curious what kind of tools that we use in this shop to work on these cars, Ferraris, Cadillacs, Citroens, all these different cars, their tools are listed for sale there in our Amazon affiliates link in the description below. If you purchase anything there, we get a small cut and really appreciate it. And also, just like I've been telling you guys, we have a new channel coming out, me and my friend Thomas Durant. If you're into the paranormal, Bigfoot, aliens, all the conspiracy theories and things, all the tinfoil hat type stuff, if you're into that, it's going to be an awesome channel. October 1st is when it's coming out, and we'll put a link in the description when that time comes. You definitely don't want to miss out on that. Thanks for watching, guys.